Welcome back to Truck Tech. On the road again this week from Kansas City, Kansas, and the manufacturing and headquarters of Orange EV. For those of you who don't know what Orange is, and there may be a few of you, it is the maker of more Class 8 electric trucks than anyone out there, more than Daimler, more than Volvo, more than anyone. What kind of Class 8 trucks are these? Call them yard dogs, call them yard tractors. This is a case that is made for electrification. And I'm joined today by Kurt Neutgens. Kurt, thank you for having us out here. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
It's always great to be on the road.
It's nice
and
to
it's
have you here.
great to be here because what you're doing is actually, you've made more electric trucks than anybody. That in itself is a story. But I want to know, and I think our audience should know a little bit more about how this came to be. I want to know where Orange EV as a name came from, because we know there's a gym out there, Orange something or other. And we know there's an apple. There's sort of an apple-ish kind of thing to this?
Yeah, there's definitely a little fanboyish on Apple. But, you know, one of the things is when we started, everything was green, right? There was green this company, green that company. And it had this terrible connotation of you're going to take your whole wallet out, hand it over, and then you can be green, right? And we said, that's not us. What we want to do is make a vehicle that's so much better financially that you want to be green for the environment, but let's not lose that connotation that we want to be better. And so we had an idea of a color in our minds, right? So wasn't green. We looked at a lot of different things, but you know, orange is a safety color, and we care a lot about safety. And then it's also, if you look at high voltage lines on an electric truck, they have to be covered with orange for the first responders, just in case they're cutting someone out of that vehicle. They see an orange line, they know that's different, right? I better be careful there. And so it just kind of blossomed a little bit. We started out with $50,000, so there was no marketing budget. And so we said, if someone sees one of our trucks, they better know it. So that kind of stands out a little bit, not just in the yard, but it stands out in the trade shows and everywhere else. Back to Apple, you asked me about that. Maybe I went long-winded here, but I always thought it was cool. When I was in high school, I learned about Apple. I thought it was really neat that every time I went to the grocery store and I saw an Apple, I thought about Apple Computer. And I said, that'd be cool. I can do that with an orange. Every time one of my customers goes to the grocery store and they see an orange, they're like, you know, I know this company called Orange. And so it's like this word of mouth type of advertising that just kind of organic.
Yeah. So when we talk about Orange EV, we have an opportunity to get into your products in a little bit. You're going to take us through the plant, which is awesome. You're at, I think it's 440,000 square feet. Is that correct?
Yes.
You started with what?
2,000 square feet. 2,000 square feet.
You could barely put the vehicle we're standing next to in that space.
You're absolutely right. And when we put that first vehicle together, we had to move the vehicle from one side of the shop to the other just to get the battery box in. We could only do it by hand because we couldn't get a forklift in there. So we had to put a battery box in, fill it up by hand, and build it up, and then move the truck to the other side of the room and do the other side.
Now, a lot of the things that you will, claim, we'll talk about your uptime, we'll talk about durability, but it's interesting that, you know, that first truck that went to, I think it was DHL.
DHL took our first truck there.
2015, it's still on the road.
It's still running. It's in a 24-hour, 24/7 operations. They run it typically 2 shifts a day and charge it the third shift. They have another Orange EV truck running the other shift. And so they run their 24/7 operations in that building with Orange EV trucks. That first truck has over 25,000 hours on it. DHL did a press release for us, with us a couple months ago. They announced they are going to replace their whole fleet with Orange EV trucks in 2025.
There you go. Well, that means you're probably going to step up from 2 or 3 trucks a day at that point.
But we sure hope.
We'll talk a little bit about that as well as we get an opportunity to look at the line. You know, I think it's just, it's like I said, it's always fun to come to places and see what's going on. But this is truly a going concern that we've got. You've got everything from the trucks. You've got the battery packs. You've got the cabinets. We'll talk about all of that on the show. So, folks, we hope you're looking forward to this as much as we are. So, Kurt, basically, I'm looking at a lot of cabs here. Where are these coming from, and what's the background on them?
Yeah, so that cab, again, is to our design, and we build we have a couple suppliers. So these come in kind of pre-modified for a customer. Because we have so many options, we'll make some modifications to these and then send them out to be painted kind of custom colors. And what we see here is the cab's getting ready for modification. And so, but we'll see later in the production line an actual cab line. So these will go back out to a painter. We do a rhino-line floor and rhino-line on some of the surfaces to make sure that they last longer, and undercoating. And so some of that stuff all has to be done after the modification, so we don't have any kind of open points for rust to get in or things like that.
Rhino line is what it sounds like, basically a washout type of.
Yeah, it's actually not Rhino, right? So I probably shouldn't use their brand. It's a polyurethane coating.
Okay.
And so we make sure that everything's sealed. So we'll do that after we make our modifications. It's a very manual process, right? And the volume you have in this type of production, you got to get up to a certain level to start doing automation. If the team does a really good job and they have a tool to run the trucks forward when we're ready for that.
You said about 2 or 3 trucks a day?
2 or 3 trucks a day. So
yeah.
It's pretty slow. I was at Ford for 17 years. I was one every 53 seconds.
Yeah.
That's different, right?
Yeah.
That's different. In your personal car, you might run it an hour a day, maybe, most people. And so you think about a year, you might get 300 hours. In 10 years, you might be at 3,000 hours, right? Maybe 4,000 hours. We've got trucks that we delivered less than 7 years ago that have 28,000 hours on them, okay? So it's almost a factor of 10 versus what you run on your car. So, and they're banging into trailers 150 times a shift, and that can be up to 25 Gs. So these trucks work incredibly hard. And this is where electric shines, because we actually have a much better durability and reliability than the diesels.
How does that play? Because most people think of diesel as being exactly that.
Yeah, it's why this market is diesel, right? Because gasoline isn't robust enough.
Yeah.
Right? Because you can get another couple of years out of a diesel versus a gasoline engine. Right?
Okay, now we know though that electric vehicles have fewer parts, maintenance, things like that. Can you or do you match the durability or exceed the durability?
We exceed the durability by a large sum, by a very noticeable sum. Okay. So a diesel truck in this world is a 5 to 7 year truck for the first customer. Typically it's sold within 5 to 7 years. And why do they sell at that point in time? Because they want to sell the day before either the engine or the transmission blows up on them, right? And that's what they've experienced, right? And their uptime is usually over that 7 years is maybe 75% uptime. So 25% of the time it's down. And if you ask all the customers in this segment, when they need 5 trucks, they've got 7 or 8 on their lot, because so two or three are down at any given time. They have to have those extras as backups because they can't not deliver the goods.
Right. Well, you've got, I think I understand, 98% uptime, which is pretty amazing for this kind of vehicle, yeah?
Yeah, we have a fleet of 1,100 trucks, and the average on that 1,100 trucks is over 98% uptime. How do we do that? Well, we don't have a coolant system on the heat treater. We don't have a transmission. The electric motor has no real wear components other than the bearings on it.
Down here on the floor, though, you are able to basically, on a single line, move these through, as you said, 2 to 3 a day right now, on the way to 5. Is that right?
Yes,
But
yes.
you've also said that you want to be able to do a couple thousand. I guess that brings up the question of total addressable market.
Yeah. So we think the sales into this market in North America are somewhere around 5 to 6,000 a year. Okay. And we can do 2,400 a year on a single shift. So we're not afraid to go to a second. And if we're so lucky that our customers like it enough, we'd be happy to do a third shift. Right. So
Are we at the point right now, and I'm sure, you've got marketing people, but are we at the point where this is word of mouth out there?
it is absolutely. I mean, we've got 1,100 trucks out there. We've had customers tell their competitors to come visit us and try our truck.
And at this point, is that what you're finding happening? Is that they're coming in? Are they curious? Or because I don't know what the premium is for an electric yard truck versus, say, a diesel. Is it what, 2.5, 3, like we see in most Class 8 trucks?
Yeah, so it's 2 to 3 times the cost, depending on the operations and the capability of the truck and the battery size, all that kind of stuff. That's the upfront difference. But it's interesting, the savings dwarfs that. So we see on those customers where it makes sense. And if a customer does, have a 4-hour shift with a yard hustler, it's not going to pay back financially very quickly. They'll love the uptime, right? They'll love the reliability, but it isn't really going to pay back with fuel and maintenance.
So you're looking at what, 12, 14 hours a day? What's the sweet spot for that?
Sweet spot is a good, we've got trucks out there running 570 hours a month after month after month. That is working. And so that's what we love. We can save our customers total cost of ownership over a 10-year period, anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million in savings. That's buy both vehicles full price. That's no incentives. There's no subsidies whatsoever. Full price. 10 years, you can be as much as $1.5 million ahead.
So here's the question then, because we do know that a lot of Class 8 trucks, especially, and it's slowed down, we know that at this point, but there's still a lot of incentive money, especially in California and some of the eastern states. Are you able to work and get some of that now? And that was one of my questions really was, do you need to depend on it? It sounds like you're not.
We are not dependent on it. In fact, it can be a double-edged sword, right? So we appreciate it very, very much, right? We are one of a very few number of manufacturers who are qualified manufacturer for the federal tax credit from IRA. So our customers get a $40,000 tax credit when they buy our truck. That's not true of all our competitors. So we had to qualify for that. So there's one definite tax benefit. In addition, there are incentives, and they can be pretty significant, right? They can be the difference between what a diesel costs and what the electric costs. So those are out there, and we've had lots of customers use those from their first trucks. But we have very, very big customers who are not using any of that. They buy those trucks full price, right? Like there's no question. They don't even ask, is there an incentive? Over 60% of our sales over the last 3 years have been without incentive. The incentives can be, they can mess your timing up. And by the time you get that incentive, you could have saved as much as the incentive. And so it doesn't really make sense in a lot of cases to do that. So we're not against it. We help our customers do it, right? But we started the company with the mindset, this has to make sense without any incentives. It has to pay back, and it has to pay back fast. And so we try to pay back within 2 to 3 years of a customer buying it.
And so, is this something, I've spent some time with Outrider, which is automating distribution yards. Is this something that is lends itself to, potential autonomy? We've seen them lift and drop trailers autonomously.
Yeah. So we definitely, absolutely, this can be used there, right? And so I think any vehicle can be used autonomously, ultimately. We also support the non-autonomous market. So we're working both of those at the same time and making sure that we support what the customer needs.
So one truck, Kurt, takes about how long to build? A couple days?
Yeah, so it's a kind of a two-step or multi-step process. So we come in, I mentioned earlier, we modify cabs and frames, right? Then they'll go out to get either galvanized or painted and get that kind of stuff done. So that can take, the first part is maybe a day or two, and then the second part is maybe a couple of weeks, and then it comes back. But then from the beginning of the line to the end of the line, we do that in about a week.
Okay. So right now, two principal products. Is there a third product sort of in the pipeline that is coming that makes sense for this? Or?
Yeah, so just one note, this one is a Husky, and so we're building this Husky, as you can see, right before or after an e-retriever, right? So this is a Husky port vehicle. But yeah, we've got several other vehicles on the roadmap.
So from a control system standpoint, I'm seeing two different ones here. What am I looking at?
Yeah, so Alan, what we have here is the e-retriever control system, and over here is the Husky control system. Both these systems are designed and built right here in Kansas City at Orange EV. We do the software, we do the layout, we do the design of the harnesses, the cables, all that stuff is done here.
So you've got you said about 80 engineers working for you.
That's
Are
correct.
they broken down between mechanical, electrical,
Software.
maybe not civil, but
Yeah, well, sometimes we can use some of that, but we do a little bit of civil on our staff, not much. But yeah, mechanical, electrical, software, there's kind of the whole vehicle, right? We're doing the whole thing from the ground up. So we're not designing our own tires, but we're definitely working with tire manufacturers, so we need someone who understands that, all the way from the tires to the roof liner.
So Kurt, you're not bringing in entire batteries, you're actually buying cells, and it looks like you're making your own packs.
Yeah, we build our packs from the ground up. So we buy the cell, and then the rest of the pack we design and build here. And then of course we service our own packs. And so that gives us a couple advantages, but we started doing that because when we started, no one was building packs.
There's been a lot of movement over to lithium iron phosphate from lithium ion. Can you talk about which you prefer, or if you do prefer one?
Yeah. We are trendsetters there. So we started in iron phosphate, and we're still in iron phosphate.
And the durability issues and the thermal issues and all that are much less with iron.
It's the right choice.
You talked about your maintenance approach. That is, you handle maintenance sort of at customer sites rather than setting up. I think you said you're in 37 states. Is that correct?
Yeah, 37 states, Canada. And so we are mobile. We have Orange EV employees all across the country. We're supporting all 1,100 trucks. We will train our customers if they want to be trained, but 95% of them are using our service. And when they have a problem or they need just maintenance, we drive to the location, do that work, and get them back up and running, typically same day.
We should talk about charging, though, because I think we all know that infrastructure is one of the pinch points right now, or pressure points, if you will.
Absolutely.
How are you addressing that with your customers in terms of both, I guess, plug-in charging as well as, inductive, everything that goes with that?
That's a great question. It is really a pinch point. It's something that people are struggling with. One of the reasons why Orange EV, mentioned earlier, Orange EV has more electric Class 8 trucks than anybody out there. And the reason for that, even though this market is much smaller than other markets, is because we're able to scale in a different way. Why are we able to do that? Because we built chargers specifically to match our trucks that minimize the call it the footprint on the grid and the footprint on the buildings that we show up to. So when we have a truck that only runs 20 hours or less a day, so 2 10-hour shifts or less a day, we can typically run that with one 22 kilowatt hour charger. So 22 kilowatts of power is almost, it's a portable welder, right? It's not something special to a building.
Is that AC charging or?
It's DC charging.
DC charging.
DC charging.
So level 3.
So levels are hard to, because 22 kilowatts, some people might say it's not level 3, but it is DC charging.
Okay.
Right? And so, but that's all we need. And we can run 24/7, only charging with our 70 kilowatt charger when the operator is on break. So there's no loss in operational time for fueling.
So you are basically doing cabinets that have different sizes.
That's right.
Putting them in, but obviously there's still the utility connection that has to go
Absolutely.
with it.
But typically, because the small footprint that we bring for those chargers, the local electrician for that building puts it in without ever talking to the utility. Our philosophy and what we've seen succeed is you buy the least amount of charging you need for the vehicles you're buying right now. You don't go buy 1,000 chargers and then see what vehicles you can charge, because now you're putting in a 3-year program when you could have saved enough money to pay for the truck in that 3 years and throw the charger away and you'd still be ahead. We're also servicing those chargers. So there's one throat to choke, right? And it's all right here in the US. And so the parts go very quickly if you have any problem. Our trucks are at 98% uptime. We don't even track our chargers. They are so good that there's no reason to track them. We've got 1,100 trucks out there right now. We have not had a down charger for 6 months.
How many chargers are out there if you have 1,100 trucks?
Some of our fast chargers, we do one charger for 3 trucks. So we're probably somewhere around 900 chargers out there.
We haven't talked about the whole zero emission thing, the fact that this is a pretty clean environment where you build them and they're going to be pretty clean and inoffensive when they're out there too. How important was that in the founding of the company?
It's driving everything we do. It is our mission to make an impact on global warming. And I think this is great for everybody, no matter what they think about global warming. Our tactic is make a vehicle that's so much better in every way that our customer have no concern about global warming one way or another. They're going to want our trucks anyway. And so if you can make a truck that's less expensive total cost of ownership, that's better operationally, that's uptime is better, that's smoother for the operator, that helps their health, that stops in half the distance, all the different people in the company get a win.
Well, we got a chance today to really get a good look at a leader in electric vehicles. There's no way to think of it any other way when you have built more Class 8 electric trucks than anybody out there. And again, there will be others. But right now, Orange EV has got its space in the electrification part of the yard truck, the yard dog. It was great being here. We hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching.